Hi, thanks again for tuning in to Citizens Workshop here on YouTube. Hope you all have a great day. So today we're going to be talking about The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. It is sort of like a historical fiction fantasy novel, but it's a very feministic read. And I really appreciated this novel because I liked this feministic edge to the story. I do like witchy stories occasionally. Not occasionally, I do like witchy stories. But this novel was really reminiscent to the Salem witch trials in a way, and I thought that was really intriguing. I really did enjoy that quite a lot as far as the storytelling goes, because it does take place in the city of Bethel, and it's very puritanical. You know, it is very reminiscent of the Puritans during the time of the Salem witch trials. I'm very familiar with the Salem witch trials. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been to Salem numerous times. I love Salem. So I am very familiar with the Salem witch trials, and it's really sad and it's very tragic, that part of our history. Now I think a lot of our history is very sad and very tragic, but it's there for reasons that we can learn from it so that we don't repeat it. And I think this novel really highlights how strongly, cult mentality can control people and their lifestyle. Like I said, it follows Emmanuel. She lives in this society, and it very is reminiscent of cult mentality. You have the prophet, and he has numerous wives, some of which are incredibly young, and he used his position and power to take advantage of girls when they were very young. And I think that's very, one, it's very cringy, but two, it's also unfortunately quite realistic that these are the type of things that happen in today's society, and I think that's disgustingly sad. But it does highlight a lot of that cult mentality. The women in this community, in this city of Bethel, they are powerless. They are stripped of their voices, of their spirit in a way. But Emmanuel, she kind of rises to the occasion. She's very headstrong, but she doesn't start off that way. She does start off rebellious in secret. Let's say that. She doesn't want to do anything to piss off, the Almighty Father and the prophet. And I think it says a lot about the culture in which she's in. And throughout the course of the story, she does grow. She does find a comrade who also wants to inspire change as much as she does. And I think that's really cool. I really do see this progression of evolution, of learning, of wanting to change things for the better. I thought that was very entertaining. I did like this fantastical element there, with the next prophet having visions, and then there is magic. There is magic. It's very dark magic, and God, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts together because I really did love this book. I do think Emmanuel has such a great journey throughout this novel because she grows. She rises to the occasion. She becomes even more powerful in here because she's able to withstand the power of the patriarchy. She wants to give voices to the women. She wants to create equality in this novel. And you really do get to see how women are so mistreated in this novel. And it's relatable, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because you would think in the year 2020 there still wouldn't be such a bridge of inequality between men and women, that sexism and misogyny and all that stuff would kind of dissipate by now, but it hasn't yet. And in this novel, we see why, because you need women like Emmanuel to inspire change. You need women who are willing to stand up and fight their inner fear, to overpower the men who would think little of them. Because there are men in this novel. I'm not saying that it's like a man-hating novel. It's not. There are men in the novel who are feminists, who want to help Emmanuel, you know, take her grandfather. He's great. And then, God, what was his name? Ezrin? Shoot. Can't remember his name. But the prophet's son, he also wants to inspire change as well. These are just two examples of what it takes to inspire change in such a restricted, rigid, and misogynistic community. But it's also racist as well. I think Henderson did a great job addressing the racism. So I'm going to talk about that real quick. Emmanuel is biracial. Her mother fell in love with a man of color, and even though she was betrothed to the prophet, she just wanted to run away with this man. Of course, you know, they were found out, and her lover was killed, and she fled to the woods, the dark woods, where the witches live, where the witch's spirit live. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And I thought that was very well done, addressing the racism. In the town of Bethel, they all look down on people of color. They kind of treat Emmanuel like an outcast for various reasons, not just the color of her skin, but the fact that her mother survived the dark ward while she was pregnant with her, it does raise suspicion, and it does cast a dark shadow on her household. And she is very much an outcast because of the color of her skin and her origins. But more than that, the people of Bethel, they force all the people of color to live on the outskirts. You know, how poignant is that, the outskirts? You have to live outside of the city that promises your salvation because of the color of your skin. And yet, Emmanuel, she's only allowed into the city because she had a white or light-skinned mother. I mean, she may be someone of color, but she is allowed some privileges because she had a white mother. You know, that speaks profound levels of racism. You know, she passes beggars, people of color, begging for money and for food because they aren't allowed in the city. Like, come on, man. They are not allowed in the city because of the color of their skin. That is racism. And I like that Henderson addresses this racism. I like how she grounds the novel in such a familiar setting that readers can connect to in order to make such a profound statement that racism still exists today. You know, we have it today, and it sucks. And you'd think by now people would just get over the color of your skin. Like, come on. We're all human beings. If you want to get religious, we're all, you know, God's children. But I don't want to make this religious or political. I just want to talk about the book. But that's why I think it's important to read this novel, you know? That is one of the elements that make it powerful and impactful and important to read and discuss. It deals with it on such a literal level. You know, it really does highlight the differences, and it really does create a powerful statement about racism. And, you know, going back to the feminist aspect of the novel, you know, the witches, they're called the witches because they came to Bethel. And I think, given the context of the story, what really made them villains were the fact that they were unwilling to bend to men. That's what made them villains. They were unwilling to bend to men, and then there were 4 witches. 2 of them were lovers, and the other 2 were just strong, empowered women. Yes, they had magic. Magic does exist in this novel, by the way. The prophets tend to have visions, and you have some women who can foresee your name. So there is magic trickled in there, by the way. These witches had magic, and I think the core of the novel is they wanted to inspire change. They wanted to raise women to the same level as men, and yet the men wouldn't have it. So they waged war with them and executed them, and they just sort of abandoned their bodies into the dark wood. So I think these witches, their need for revenge has given them such a life. It's darkened the woods. It's created, I think if you read enough literature, hate and anger and revenge, they leave an imprint on things, you know? Very strong emotions leave imprints on things. Yeah, I'm a little bit superstitious on that, I'm not gonna lie. I really do think that. But I don't think you can leave this world on a bad note without leaving a mark. And that's what happens with these women. They leave a mark in the dark wood. And they come back through Emmanuel, because her mother did make a bargain with these witches. And it's really interesting to see that unfold. And it also allows us Emmanuel to rise to the occasion, to channel the magic and use it for the betterment of her society. She wants to save the innocents, no matter their color of the skin, no matter their gender, no matter their sexual preference. She wants to inspire change. And she does it. And you get to see it at the end of the novel. And it's such a great moment where everyone just kind of wants to execute Emmanuel. After she just saved their lives, they want to execute her. And yet you have all these women just kind of stand up for her. And you have men stand up in front of her. And they're like, no. It's like, if you want to get to her, you're going to have to go through me. And I loved that scene at the novel. I thought it was a very powerful scene. And it just reflected the journey of the story, of the progression, of the need for change and creating equality in this society. So I really did love it overall. You know, I really did think it was a good story. I thought I think it's important. I think it deals with a lot of real issues that we face in society now, but it also mirrors our history as well, and it highlights just how little we've come, how little we've moved forward from that. You know, we've made strides, certainly, you know, civil rights movement, suffrage movement. There have been movements made, and yet we're still not there yet. You know, do I think a perfect society is ever going to exist? No, because emotions, like dark emotions, are always going to exist. You know, that's what it means to be human. But I think it'd be nice to try to aim for that, a perfect, peaceful society. You know, I think if that's our aim, to make the world better, then it will be better. Maybe not perfect, because perfection is unachievable, but I think it will be better. And that's what I liked about this novel, because at the end of the novel, it leaves you with hope. You know, through all the darkness that Emmanuel has had to go through throughout the course of the novel, feeling the sexism, the misogyny, the darkness and racism, there's still hope at the end of the novel. And I loved that feeling. And that the year of the dawn, I loved that. It was such a great moment. They acknowledge the fact that they are going to face challenges from people who don't want change, but they are also respecting the fact that they can make the world and their community better by not giving up. And I think that's the real message here. Like, don't give up for change. Do not give up trying to make things better, to make the world a better place. Because no matter the challenges that come, as long as you don't give up hope, and as long as you don't stop fighting, you can make the world better. And I think Henderson did an amazing job conveying everything I think she needs to convey in this novel. I really do. I really do think it was beautiful. I think it was well written. I loved the pacing of it. You know, this overall storytelling of it was well done because it is gripping. There's a lot of tension. I love tension. It's one of my big things. I like tension in a story because it creates something. You know, it creates an emotion to connect to the reader, and I really do like that. I really did appreciate that, and I think Henderson, you know, ultimately, I think she did an amazing job with her storytelling, and ultimately, you know, I'm gonna give The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I'm gonna go ahead and give this novel 4 stars. I do think it's an important read. I do think it is one worth discussion. I think it's one worth looking at and just kind of thinking of how we can take her message to implement into our world to make our world a better place. So once again, this is The Year of the Wishing by Alexis Henderson. Go ahead and give it 4 stars. There'll be a link in the description below to purchase the novel. If money's tight, which I know for a lot of us it is, myself included, I recommend checking out the book from your local library. Libraries are a great resource and definitely deserve all of our support. And you know what? Please don't forget to support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.